Kyle here with NimbleNoggin.io, and today we're going to talk about how we can use auto layout, among some other things, to make sure that our subviews in our view controllers avoid the keyboard and avoid getting covered by the keyboard. Now, having your subviews avoid being covered by the keyboard is not always something that needs to be done, especially in the case of maybe just some static text or a background or something that's not very important. But in this case, we have a text entry that is getting covered up by the keyboard. So if it does get covered by the keyboard, you aren't going to be able to see what you're currently editing. So let's get in how to do this in the code. So first things first, in the code, we have made sure that we have a reference to the constraint or constraints in the view controller that if we adjusted it or them, that all of the views that we want out of the way of the keyboard will be out of the way of the keyboard. And here we have that, a reference to the bottom constraint here, which is specifically linked to this constraint seconding the bottom text field 100 and something pixels above the bottom of the screen. And in the code, the second thing we need to make sure of is that we are using something called the NS notification center, adding an observer method in for the system event of UI keyboard will show notification. And what's going on in this method is the observer method is on self, so in the text field view controller, then the selector, so pointing to the method keyboard will show, the name of the notification or event that we're subscribing to, and then an object that we are not needing to worry about in this situation. And as you can see under here, that we're also subscribing to a UI keyboard will hide notification, and there's also a UI keyboard did show and a UI keyboard did hide. So there's 4 events total in these keyboard notifications, but today we're only talking about this first one, keyboard will show. So let's go down to that method and see what's happening. So this method keyboard will show accepts an NS notification object, like all methods that are responding to an NS notification center notification should accept an NS notification object as their only parameter. And again, that's just this situation. So on every NS notification object, there is a property called user info, which is an NS dictionary. So on this notification that we know is a notification from the keyboard opening or closing, or sliding up or sliding down, we know that we're looking in that user info dictionary for an object under the key UI keyboard frame end user info key. And that is a CGREC stored as an NS value, so we can pull that out, casting it as an NS value, and then getting the CGREC from that. So we have a static variable here called keyboard frame, which is the actual frame on the screen of the keyboard, including its height, width, and X and Y values. So from this top left corner is X and Y, and then the height and width filling in the rest of the screen over here. And because we are using this frame end info key, that means that at the end of the keyboard sliding up, that is the frame that we're looking for. And so now that we have the frame, we're going to set that bottom constraint that we mentioned earlier. We're going to set its constant to the frame's height and add a little padding, so 20. And I just picked 20 pixels. It seems like a nice amount of padding here. That's totally up to the developer or the designer or whoever's deciding this at that point in whatever app you might be working on. And we're calling a standard UI view animate with duration method, and in the animation block of that method, we are calling self.view layout if needed, so that this change in the constraint is actually animated over the duration that we set here. And the duration is another value that is stored in this user info dictionary of this notification. And the key we are getting out of that is UI keyboard animation duration user info key. That is the duration in seconds that the keyboard is animating open or animating closed or off screen, or whatever state you call the keyboard here. I like to call it open. We're going to animate the bottom text field's distance from the bottom of the screen to the height of the keyboard plus 20, so that we still have that little padding there. And that's about all it takes to make sure that you have one view getting out of the way of the keyboard when it appears, and you can implement that for as many things as you need to dodge out of the way of the keyboard. Thanks for watching.